we're going to talk about Bob. So, I've had a lot of people ask me, oh, and by the way, I want to do this in 3 sections. I want to just tell you a little bit. I want to just answer any questions anybody has for 5 minutes. So we're going to break it up in 3 5-minute things. Me talking, 5 minutes for questions, and then the video is about 5 minutes long that I want to share with everybody. So I have a lot of people ask me about, why do you want to retire? Well, what are you going to do? And that's kind of a tough questions to answer. So, I thought a lot about why, and for me, I think it boils down to time versus money. There's a time in your life where you're just trying to do everything and get as much, to do as money as you can and pay your bills and put your kids through school and raise your kids and all that. Well, that's I'm done with that, and I'm 62 and I've got more in the rear view mirror than I got in the windshield. I think there's no arguing that. So that's number one. I think number 2 for me is deadlines versus goals. I'm getting sick and tired of deadlines, man. I love goals. I love goals. Goals are something in your life that I think people should always strive for, because I'm kind of a driven guy. And when you restore a car from the frame all the way to the end, not once, but twice, you're driven. Because probably about 2% of the people that actually start that project, that process out, actually finish. About 98% is probably a failure rate. So you have to be very driven to do that. And so that's another reason why I'm wanting to retire. I've been there 43 years, and I just think it's time. I have a granddaughter, so people are saying, well, what are you going to do? Well, number 1 is health. I blame it on the hamstring, but the doctor said it had more to do with my left hand than the hamstring. So it was my left hand going up to my mouth too often. So I've been working on that. If you want to ask about that, I've reached some goals, and Eli is working too, and we've been talking about it, and he's helped me, and Dan's helped me. And so I have some goals set there, and I'm right on track there. So I think if you're going to retire, probably, especially as forgiving as the human body is, I think it's important to be healthy. And I think that's probably the most important thing on the docket for me is my health. Granddaughter's important to me. So for all the things that I didn't do, and I want to know when 5 minutes is up, for all the things I didn't do with my kids, I want to make up for it. And one of those, somebody asked me about the 33. This is a 33. This is a 33 5-window coupe. I got a 3-window that I'm building right now. It's a kit. Haven't touched it in 2 years. I'd like to see if my granddaughter might be interested in being involved in that and finish that project. So that's something I'd like to do. We like to go to Tennessee. And usually when we go to Tennessee to the Lake Dale Hollow, Vivette's very familiar. You're familiar, Denny. We go Friday and come back on Monday, so we get Saturday and Sunday. I want to go whenever I want to go, and I want to come back whenever the hell I want to come back. So that's something that I want to do. I also have a race car. Race cars are built-in stress. That's like automatic stress when you own one of those. So that's something I'm wanting to do. I have a rental property. I haven't been over there in probably a year and a half. I have plenty of work to do there. I also, Vicky knows, I can do about anything I put my mind to. I'm doing some renovations around our own house. So these are kind of short-term goals. Long-term, hell, I might go back to work. I'm thinking about teaching maybe. Something, You know, my wife always told me she thought I'd be a good teacher. I'm also going to join Sinclair. They have a machine shop class down there, so I'm going to take advantage of all their really expensive machines and learn how to do automotive machine work. Like to learn how to build transmissions, automatics. Might even go to work for a transmission shop just to learn how to do it and then leave. I do eBay a lot. I've got like a 1,500 positive 100% rating. I have somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 in Portersville. That's the nickname for my back garage of parts to sell. I need to get rid of some of those, and that's going to help supplement some income. I also have some e-commerce stuff I want to do. I have some parts that I've invented and I'm manufacturing on a small level for the niche group that I'm in with Turbo Buicks. So I have some things that I'm doing there and I'm selling, and I want to expand that. I'd like to get a monetized YouTube channel, which is not easy to do, man. That is a tough job. So I'm learning a little bit about photo and video editing and things of that nature, and maybe do some how-to videos on YouTube. I also want to learn to weld, and just like I said, long term, I may go back to work. I'm not going to collect Social Security right away, so I won't get in trouble there. And you know, I'm going to take a year off and kind of reevaluate and see if I want to go back to work. Thing is, if I go back to work, it's going to be on my terms, and I'm going to work when I want to work. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I've got about probably 4 or 5 minutes for questions if anybody wants to ask me specifically about anything I talked about.
You seem so much more at peace with it now than when you first started talking about it. Do you feel like you are more at peace with it?
Well, it's a tough decision. I mean, I'm not good at change. I still live in the very first house I ever bought. I still have the girlfriend that I had when I was 23. I pretty much, and the wife's the same. You know, I still own my second car that I bought my senior year of high school. So I'm not real good at change. I've had the same job since I was 19 years old. Not the same job, but I've been with the same company. So yeah, it's challenging, but I'm convinced it's time. And yeah, I guess the short answer would be, yeah, I'm getting more comfortable with it. It's going to be a tough day, April 1st.
But I think what you did is wonderful, that goals versus deadlines. I think that's...
Yeah, I can't stand
I'm looking
deadlines.
at retirement, so these things were like a blueprint for me.
Deadlines, man, I can't stand. It's a drop dead date. Well, good for it.
You were talking about going to Sinclair. Are you looking at like teaching as well as like being a student as well, like taking classes in the automotive stuff like you were talking about, and teaching automotive and HVAC or all the stuff you were talking about? Because they have an HVAC program that's booming right now as well.
They have a very good HVAC program. I don't know what the requirements are to teach that HVAC program. I'm a high school graduate. I don't have a degree in anything. First off, I'm going to take an automotive machine. I've had the ex-fire chief, City of Beavercreek's begging me to come down there. He says it's a bunch of old guys, and we get to use all these cool machines and learn how to machine engines for almost free. And sounds like a lot of fun. That's going to be the first step. I love Sinclair. I think it's a great asset to the community. I love that school.
Well, further to what you just said, I've taught at Sinclair, and I don't have my degree. So
Okay.
that doesn't stop you. You need to be an expert in what you're teaching, and I think everyone in this room has said on numerous occasions what a dynamic speaker you are, and I see that as your next chapter. I see that as something you enjoy.
I'd like to do it. It's kind of giving back. I'd like to kind of do that.
I think you'd make a nice
that funny?
instructor down there.
Anything else?
Yeah, and actually, my second question, why the instructor, she doesn't have a degree. But would you ever consider going to Cumberland?
Yeah, I go to Cumberland. I mean, my boat's at Dale Hollow. That's 90 minutes further. There's 1,200 houseboats on Cumberland, and there's hardly any at Dale Hollow. The water's a lot cleaner, and nobody knows about it. I talk to people about Dale Hollow, and they're like, "I've never heard of Dale Hollow," and I go, "Exactly." And I don't want anybody to know about it. Just keep going to Cumberland. Dale Hollow is heaven. So I go to Cumberland. I mean, friends go there. They invite me. I come down. Yeah.
What engine you putting in the 33?
It's already in there, and it's not my choice, but the State Highway Patrol is the Ohio State Highway Patrol is tough. There's no title with that car, so there's only a manufacturer, so they're gonna go over with a fine tooth comb to see if there's any stolen parts on it. So I had to put a 4.6 2003 Mustang GT drivetrain in it. I'm putting a Holley EFI on it, 36-pound injectors, bigger throttle body headers. Should be running about 300 horsepower at 2,500 pounds. Ought to go like mid-11s. I'm not building it to race. It's going to be fast though.
In English, what did you just say?
Thank
Very light and very fast, smoky tires.
Low horsepower numbers, but it don't really matter because the thing weighs nothing.
Fast but reliable.
you.
Yeah, it's a
It goes
driver.
vroom a lot.
I would have liked to done a turbo 6-cylinder in it, but nothing else. Go
I
ahead.
got one. Are you gonna show us the Bob before you leave?
Maybe it's according how many drinks I have at the party.
You know about the Bob?
This is a family meeting.
Yeah.
I
The
don't-
bob is a dance.
Oh.
And it's not socially acceptable in public.
Bob, I'd like to ask you to take notes for us, because there's a few of us in the room that's probably gonna follow in your footsteps in the future.
I took
And
notes. I did too.
I've taken notes and I'm thinking, this is a lot. I already have half my notepad down, so I'm good for that. So I'm thinking you're doing such a good job and you're such a good speaker and you've planned everything out. Continue to write this, because it's gonna be a guidebook for many.
No, I felt like today would be kind of a cop-out because like I had 15 minutes and 5 of it's going to be a movie that I had nothing to do with, and 5 of it's questions. So, but I did plan quite a bit today, even though it may not look like it on the surface. I wanted to share this video.
You have 6.5 minutes left using a few of.
Go ahead.
When you do wind up teaching, because that's your calling. I mean, anybody in this room would agree with that. Let us know so that we can go up and
Castle it.
I just want to be in the class.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
We'll
All right,
happily
here's
do
an
the
easy
back.
one.
We'll harass you and learn something at the same time.
Yeah, there you go.
That's like going to a craft brew tour. You get to get drunk and learn at the same time.
Yeah.
Dan, go ahead.
So when you go to Dale Hollow, do you guys always go to the same place, rent the same place? Do you camp? I mean,
No, I quit
houseboats?
camping when I camped when I couldn't afford a house or a place to stay. I like to take a shower. I used to camp when I was 17. Now I go somewhere with hot water. And that's why I work so hard all my life. So camping's really not something I would really, I like campfires, but I don't really like camping.
That's a good way to put it.
We, if it's me and her, we'll stay in a cabin at sunset. If we take the dog, we gotta get a house. Every time we go there, we wanna buy a house, but I talked to a guy named Dan Matulka that said that's not a great idea to do, and I think it was good advice. And we've slept in the boat. We go to Sunset Marina, that's where, the country guy made the video, what's his name? Sunrise, Burn, Sunset.
Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan, that was made where we go, and nobody knew about that place, and either Donald Trump or he ruined it for us, because there's a lot more people going there now. One of the two, could be both, or a combo. Maybe. People have more money
Oh, I was like, did he tweet about it or something?
now. It's about
Your wallet.
the wallets are thicker now than they were a few years ago. I don't know if he had a lot to do with it, but he might have a little bit. Anything else? Is that it?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, we got a 5-minute video. Hopefully the speakers work. If they don't, it's Nick Moody's fault.
That was
Turn the lights down.
I will never forget that cup of coffee. Well, a couple years ago, I was traveling when my schedule worked out on Christmas Eve. I thought the airport was going to be a zoo, so I got there a couple hours early. It wasn't crowded at all, so for me, that means coffee. So I get down into my Terminal D, and I see the green sign. And when I travel these days, I always wear earbuds, so I'm rocking out to Coldplay. And I see the sign, I get in line, and there's one woman in front of me, and she's having a very animated conversation with the barista. She's kind of waving her arms, and they're both smiling and laughing. So I wasn't in a rush, but out of curiosity, I popped out my earbuds. And sure enough, they're going on about their holidays and their plans and the kids and presents, and she starts to move down the line. So it's my turn to order. And I was greeted with this very warm and sincere welcome. This woman said to me, "Hi, my name's Lily. What's your name?" I said, "I'm Ryan." She said, "Ryan, what can I make for you today?" I said, "Well, I want a grande pumpkin spice latte." She said, "You want whipped cream on that, don't you?" I said, yeah, I want the whipped cream. She said, "I'll tell you what I'm gonna do." She said, "I'm gonna make it extra hot, load it up with whipped cream, sprinkle a little nutmeg on top. That's how I like it. You're gonna love it." I said, "Sounds great." She said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Cleveland." She said, "Are you going back to Cleveland to spend the holiday with your family?" I said, "Yes." Now, at this point, I start looking around for the camera, right? I'm trying to get a latte. So I move down the line, and the conversation continues, and she's funny. She's asking me questions about my family and our holiday traditions. She's laughing, and I'm laughing, and she hands me my drink and says to me, "Ryan, have a safe trip back to Cleveland. Go create some extraordinary memories with your family. When you come back through the Minneapolis airport, I want you to stop here and tell me all about it." As I get my drink, I start walking away, and I stop and I look back at this woman, and I think to myself, it's Christmas Eve. Most people would rather be anywhere else in the world than serving coffee in an airport. Not her. It was like she was meant to be there. And I couldn't help myself. I had to go back. So I did. I walked back and I said, "Excuse me, Lily." And she jumps around. "Ryan, is everything okay with the latte?" I said, "No." I said, "The latte is perfect. I just had to come back and ask you, what is your secret to making such meaningful connections over serving coffee?" Well, she corrected me. She said, "Ryan, I'm not serving coffee." I said, "Okay, what are you doing?" She had thought about this. And what she told me was, "I'm pouring happiness into people's lives." I said, "You're pouring what?" Like, what is pouring happiness? And her definition of pouring happiness, she wants to be happy in her life. She wants to be around happy people. She cares about her customers. She wants them to come back. So she chooses, even on Christmas Eve, to smile, to have fun, to help people, to just be happy. Instead of just focusing on how to be successful, focus on how to be helpful. The other thing she understands and masters straight away is the very specific and intentional decision around how she chooses to show up, even on Christmas Eve. You know this. A lot of things happen in work and in our lives that are beyond our sphere of influence or control. She doesn't control the weather in Minneapolis. Trust me, I live there. All she gets to own is how she chooses to respond to those things. Decide how you show up. It's interesting, when I met Lily, and she would have had no way of knowing this, but I was pretty heavy in the heart and had a lot on my mind. My parents, both retired school teachers, married 45 years. About 3 months before that holiday, I got a call from Mom. We got some really tough medical news about Dad. It was a terminal diagnosis, and we knew we probably weren't going to have a lot of time. So I was sitting in that airport on Christmas Eve, not in the best place in the world. I will never forget that cup of coffee. When you decide to show up consistently as the best version of who you are, it gives you your best opportunity to meet people where they are. And you never know when someone needs you to be your best.
Where did you get that, Louie?
That's
You
it. My
too?
wife actually saw him.
Is that a TED Talk or something?
It was, she, went to a meeting, an orthodontic thing, and, saw the thing, and we watched it, and I said, I gotta share that with the group.
Can you put the link on our Facebook page?
Yeah, I got it on, yeah, I can do that, I can actually, it's on YouTube, actually, that is there's, the real version's about 7 minutes long, and it doesn't have music and the animation and things, somebody doctored it up and shortened it. In some ways, I like the other version better, but I thought that probably gave you more of a visual, so, yeah, I can share it, it's on YouTube, you can just YouTube, I don't know,
Be your
get that
best
cup of
self.
coffee, or,
It's in other languages, right?
it is, it's a great, great video, and it's a good message. Thursday morning coffee, Christmas, be the best version of you, so.